And the mouth, at halfway between the nose and the chin. You want to follow the inside of the iris, which is here and here, downward. It's a little bit wider than the nose. And that halfway point is about where the lips meet, depending on the person's face. And then from there, if that's where the lips meet, that means we have the top lip above and the bottom lip below. The top lip tends to follow an M sort of shape. When you're looking at a person or yourself for a self-portrait, you'll carefully copy the shape of your lip while following these guidelines for where to place them. Typically the bottom lip is a little bit thicker than the top, although that is not true for everyone. And then if you look closely at anybody's mouth, you'll notice little stretch lines. That's because when our face is resting like this and our mouth is just closed, it has extra slack that we use when we chew, smile, or talk. Later when we add shading, those lines will look less strange. And also, I'm thinking that since I shaded the eyes, I'm also going to add a little bit to the nostrils to make them look a little bit more complete while I work. All right. Next, ears. This halfway between the head and the chin, the top of the head and the chin that we marked for the eyes, so the eye line. That is the top of the ears. Remember, we're looking from the front of the face, so we don't see the whole ear. If we were drawing a profile from the side, we would see the entirety of one ear, but from this angle, we only see a part of the ear, and it is set back from where the front of the face is. It's farther away from us, which makes it appear a little bit smaller. And the bottom tends to line up with the top of the lip. Again, mark your guidelines. Check size. Good. Then the top of the ear, what shows, will have sort of a curved shape here, like the start of an S. And then the earlobe will come from that and meet up as that guideline. And everyone's ears are shaped differently, so when you draw a person, you apply these guidelines to that person and the shape of their ears. There's usually a fold of cartilage at the top. Not always, but typically. That would have a shadow under it when we are shading. Sometimes you can see the little, sorry, I don't know the word for it. This little bit that sticks out in the center. And then the earlobe. If you want to give your person some earrings, go for it. sun and moon earrings. All right, and that brings us to the neck. Oftentimes, kids will make the neck like from here, and you end up looking like you have a lollipop on a stick, because human heads are really very heavy, and in order for our body to support them, we need a really big, strong neck. And if you put your hands against your head, use your hands against your own actual head, right around here where your ears meet your jawline and your neck. And you'll feel that your neck is coming right about from where your ears meet your jaw. So we sort of follow the jawline in a little bit because the jaw is closer to us than the neck, so it appears a little closer. And a slight curve outward to meet the shoulder. Follow the jaw. Slight curve to meet the shoulder. Any extra lines, typically, I'll just erase those later. I don't even worry about it while I'm drawing. But since I'm thinking of it, I was thinking it looks a little sloppy, so erasing. If we were to add a regular old t-shirt with a round neck, we show that we're coming around the neck. See how I kind of make a little swoosh? That implies the roundness of the neck. Our neck is a cylinder. It's not flat. So we show the shirt coming around. And then typically the collar will have a little bit of a like elasticy band at the top. With some ribbing, which creates elasticity so it can stretch. All right. Okay, so I want to go back to the chin right now. We can approach a drawing by starting with the shape of the head, but we have to keep in mind that everything we do is changeable. So when we get farther into the drawing, we might think, oh, there's not enough room for a real chin right here, which is what I'm thinking right now. Typically, the chin creates this sort of a shape, a roundness, although it's not that obvious. We want to redraw the outline of the face to incorporate a little bit lower of a chin. At least that's what I'm thinking. There. And then a little indication of the divot and shadow created between the bottom lip and the chin. And our final thing is the hair. I began a bit of a hairline, but to continue that, we'll work on long hair on one side, short hair on the other, just to show two ways. Although there are many, many more variations. So let's say I have a part and I want to show the part. I would show the line on either side of the part. And leaving the paper showing in the middle, would indicate that that's an area where you could see the skin showing through. And then the top line here, that represents the top of the head and not the top of the hair. Often the hair kind of comes up a little bit above that line because our hair has a certain amount of thickness to it as well. I want to show that. I usually start with drawing the shape of the hair, like as if it were one piece. What does it look like all together? Maybe it goes behind the shoulder, maybe it comes in front. That'll depend on you. Typically there'll be a couple of like wispies that kind of come in front of the face. That can frame the face in and look really nice. And then for the hair, much of drawing hair well comes with shading. This is more of a contour drawing we're working on now with a bit of shading. So I'll show some of the texture of the hair, but I'm not going to sit here and kind of draw every single hair because that will look stringy and strange. With hair, it's better to focus on shadow areas than individual hairs. In a portrait, the only place that I focus on individual hairs is the eyebrow and eyelashes. So I'm leaving this simple because hair on the head is something you need to be looking at to get it right. And a thicker pencil would be much better than the mechanical one I was just using. If you have a place shining in the light, you leave it paper color. If it's darker, you shade it darker. If you have shorter hair, similar in that you're looking for dark and light areas, except for the texture that you're making, like the action you're making with your pencil, is shorter and quicker to show what the texture would be. Even if you had like an upward hairdo, like a faux hawk, you just show the direction the hair is going and try to keep it looking like a natural sort of flow. The hair doesn't just go straight up. It comes from the scalp and has to be angled upward. So you want to show the curve that it has to make. Just doing that one little step will help so much. And watch out for this. So now if I put my hand down there, I'm going to make a big mark. So I'm going to be careful. And when you do smudge your paper, you can grab an eraser and just lift it off. It's good practice to have a scrap paper to place under your hand as well. All right, ta-da, all done. The last thing I would want to do is make sure that I've erased my guidelines. And assuming in the future that you'll be creating a self-portrait or a portrait of a person that you are looking at, either a photo or a real person, you'll add shading when you are looking. Because adding shading on a generic portrait like this doesn't do much. It's hard to guess something like shading because you need a light source and it needs to be consistent. And we will shade when it is a self-portrait. All right, stay tuned for the next lesson on drawing an eye. Bye.